Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jayo Krishna Balaram, Jayo Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Jayo Krishna Balaram. Jayo Nitai Gauranga, Jayo Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Jayo Nitai Gauranga. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 7th chapter, text number 32. Please repeat after me. Kim nastapaschirnam adokshajarchanam Kim nastapaschirnam adokshajarchanam Purteshta dattam utabhuta sauhrudam Purteshta dattam utabhuta sauhrudam Yat sampareta punareva balako Yat sampareta punareva balako Dishtya swabandhun pranayan upatishtatah Purtesha dattam utabhuta sauhrudam Yat sampareta punareva balako Dishtya swabandhun pranayan upatishtatah Purteshta dattam utabhuta sauhrudam Sampareta punareva balako Purteshta dattam utabhuta sauhrudam Yat sampareta punareva balako drishtya swabandhun pranayan upatishtata. Kim na tapaschira madoksha jarchanam pureshta utadaus. Yat sampareta punareva balako drishtva swabandhum pranaya upatishtaha. Word to word translation. Please repeat after me. Kim, what kind of? Naha, bayas. Tapaha, austerity. Chirnam, has been done for a very long time. Adokshaja, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Archanam, worshipping. Purta, constructing public roads, etc. Ishta, activities for public benefit. Dattham, giving charity. Uta, or else. Bhuta Saukhrudam, because of love for the general public. Yat, by the result of which. Samparetaha, even though the child was practically lost in death. Punah eva, even again because of pious activities. Balakaha, the child. Dishtya, by fortune. Swabandhun, all his relatives. Pranayan, to please. Upatishtaha, upastitaha, is present here. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Nanda Maharaj and the others said, we must previously have performed austerities for a very long time, worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead, performed pious activities for public life, constructing public roads and wells, and also given charity, as a result of which this boy, although faced with death, has returned to give happiness to his relatives. Purport. Nanda Maharaj confirmed that by pious activities one can become a sadhu, so that one will be happy at home and one's children will be protected. In Shastra, there are many injunctions for karmis and gnanis, especially for karmis, by which they can become pious and happy even in material life. According to Vedic civilization, one should perform the activities for the benefit of the public, such as constructing public roads, planting trees on both sides of the road so that people can walk in the shade, and constructing public wells so that everyone can take water without difficulty. One should perform austerity to control one's desires, and one must simultaneously worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus one becomes pious, and as a result, one is happy even in material conditions of life. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yenam Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nityanamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Pasyata Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gauravaktaranda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Nanda Maharaj and others said, we must previously have performed austerities for a very long time, worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, perform pious activities for public life, constructing public roads and wells, and also given charity, as a result of which this boy, although faced with death, has returned to give happiness to his relatives. So, Srila Prabhupada here in the purport is trying to highlight some very important aspects of how to be happy in this material world. Before we go into the material world, it's always good to start with what is the absolute state. In the spiritual world, what happens? And then you can sort of draw parallels to the material world. And usually they say, when you're trying to take decisions or when you're trying to understand something, you need to look at options. Right? When you look at different options and say, oh, this is good, this is bad, then oh, okay, I want this, I don't want this. It's easy to make that distinction. So what happens in the spiritual world? There's a very beautiful lecture by Srila Prabhupada. I'll just read. This was in December 20th, 1968. Lecture on Bhagavad Gita 3.5. You take water. As soon as you drink water, immediately your thirst is quenched. I am satisfied. That satisfaction is Ananda. Okay. Now, it says, but if you drink very nice juice or milk preparation or some other very palatable drink, then it is more pleasure. So pleasure is the basic principle of Ananda or the pleasure potency. That is in the spiritual world. That is not material. That Ananda Chinmaya Rasa, the mellow of transcendental pleasure, that is Krishna's nature. Anandamaya Abhyasat. Every living entity, because he is part and parcel of Krishna, is also seeking after Ananda, pleasure. But he is seeking pleasure in this material world, that is illusion. Real pleasure can be enjoyed in the company of Krishna. So we've got our spiritual senses, spiritual body. So when that spiritual body is engaged in the service of the Lord with the spiritual senses, then we actually enjoy. That is the real Ananda. That is real pleasure. So in many places, Prabhupada distinguishes between Ananda in the spiritual world and then rasas that enhance, that give that pleasure. So happiness and pleasure. So Ananda is basically, what is the source of our Ananda in the spiritual world or even here in the material world when you become spiritual? What gives us that sense of happiness? Any ideas? Spiritual happiness. What is like the foundational happiness? No, now you're going to rasa. That is pleasure. I'm talking about happiness. Hmm? We have to understand that we are part and parcel of Krishna. When we understand that, in the material world I'm saying, when we understand that we are part and parcel of Krishna, we're connected to Krishna. Oh, I'm part of something. Then, okay. Am I Swarupena Vavastitihi? They say you have to be, what is your actual position? Like, for example, in this material world also, if there is a lot of value in actually in a sense of belonging. Oh, I'm part of this community. These are my friends, right? This is my extended family. This is my family. Isn't there a lot of like attachment and this thing that comes from that sense of? So that connection to Krishna. Oh, I am Krishna's. I am part and parcel of Krishna. And not only that, even though there are so many millions and trillions of parts and parcels of Krishna, Krishna actually cares about each individual living entity and wants to have a relationship with that living entity. That is the difference. I mean, it's very inconceivable to understand how that's a wonder of Krishna, that with every living entity there is a personal connection. Right? So that I am a spirit soul, I am connected to the Lord, that gives us that, I'm happy. Now I am situated in my correct situation. Now, Prabhupada says that the rasas, the mellows of the different connections, these are enhancing. Just like you drink water, I'm satisfied. No, but there is something special. See, what was Prabhupada's favorite drink? Anybody knows? Many places. No. You are going to. You always liked hot milk. They'll always say, "Oh, I want hot milk with this thing." That was Prabhupada's favorite. He used to like anything. He wants to have something special. Means, oh, get me a hot milk. In fact, once he said, like after Ekadashi, next day morning, people will eat was it pakoras and jalebi and hot milk. Yeah. So like the Prabhupada always liked hot milk a lot. So when you drink something like really special or this thing, that's like, water is good. But that is special. That rasa, that connection with the Lord. So that these rasas are meant to create that little bit of excitement. I mean, if you all the time keep drinking that exciting, then that's like, it's not, then it becomes this thing. You see what I'm saying? So there is this variegatedness. There is this. That is what enhances spiritual existence. Right? So, now, in the spiritual world, we have unlimited access to unlimited everything because that is our constitutional position. And when we are connected with Krishna and when we are connected with devotees and our only source, our only happiness is the Lord and His devotees, you have access to unlimited. So there is no issue at all. But in the material world, because we are in this conditioned state and because we are, whatever we might say, we still have a lot of our own, we want to be the center, we want to be this thing. So many of our contaminations are there. That is why we don't have here unlimited access to each of these things. We don't have unlimited. It is a known fact. Now, Prabhupada is explaining in the purport, how do you get that, what are the foundational principles of keeping you happy? Right? So, there is a talk about pious activities. Right? By doing pious activities, one becomes a sadhu. And then there's a description of how for karmis, doing public services like building roads and wells and trees to provide shade and all of these things, right? So that gives one this thing. Now, what parallels can we draw for us in spiritual life? What does it mean? In the spiritual life, what are our public welfare activities? Distributing prasadam, right? Distributing holy name, distributing books. Because by doing these things, because it's actual true public welfare happens. Material public welfare, okay, you give them, some water and, some road. Yeah, it's helpful, obviously. It's a helpful thing. But now when you connect that with the Supreme Lord, same help is given, but when you connect with Supreme Lord, that has so much potency, right? So when you distribute prasadam, when you distribute the holy name, do sankirtana, these things, that is very powerful, potent, spiritually enhancing activities. And then Prabhupada adds a few things. What does he add on top of these pious activities? What else does he add? You should worship the Lord. But before that, he says, perform austerities to control one's desires. You see, this is a very simple principle. There's a lot of debate going on in the outside world right now about budget deficits and trade deficit and tariffs and all of those things. But one should see it sounds like very complicated topic. It's actually very simple. It's very, very foundational principles are very simple. Right? Now, in Kannada there is a saying, Hasike iddestu kalu chachu. Hasike means bed. As long as you have the length of the bed, that much you should extend your legs. Kalu chachu means, see, if you have a small bed, what you should do? You curl up a little bit and sleep. If you put your legs too long, it will go outside the bed. So, the United States, the earnings of the government, right? How does the government earn money? Taxes. Right? Mostly it's taxes, and there are a few, it is individual taxes and corporate taxes and all that. Actually, most of the money comes from individual taxes. Anybody knows what is the money we collect annually, approximately? United States. $4.6 trillion. We should know this. $4.6 trillion. The 5% of the population, the top 5% earners, they give about 90% of the taxes. Most of us fall in that category. The bottom 50% contribute like 3% or something of the tax, 3 or 4% of the tax. So $4.6 trillion. This Hasige is $4.6 trillion. How much are we chachoing? $6.6 trillion. 6.3, 6.5, like it keeps. That's the expense of the government. So if you are earning 4.6 trillion, you are spending 6.6, 6.7 trillion dollars. Where is the money going to come from? That is called deficit. In the outside world, how we do that, what we have to do if we have to? If you are spending more, you have to take some loan from somebody. And what happens when you take loan from somebody? You have to pay interest. America has been doing this year after year after year after year. I remember when I was in McKinsey, I used to keep very good track of what is the deficit. I remember $16 trillion, it was this thing, it was 20. And then I forgot everything for many years, and suddenly I saw now $32 trillion. I said, where did we, how did we go from this to this, like in the last few years? Every year, 2-3 trillion left and right, borrow, do whatever you want. Is that a sustainable situation? The interest that we pay on this deficit, federal interest, because you have to borrow to do this. You issue treasury notes and you borrow. The biggest government expenditure now is the interest. It is more than defense. And if this continues, the whole country will be bankrupt. It's already bankrupt almost, but there is there's a place at which you can this thing. The reason I brought this example, similar thing about trade deficit and all that. You see, there is this 7 habits of highly effective people. Stephen Covey's book. There he talks about debits and credits, even in relationships. Because ultimately spiritual life, as we just said, is all about relationships. Spiritual relationships amongst even devotees and all that. Right? So, the 2 concepts I want to bring up. One concept is, first thing, we have to keep earning credits so that we can do some debits. Right? If you just like you write a check, if you have $1,000 in your bank and you write a check for $1,500, what will happen? Check will bounce and they'll put a fine on top of it. Right? So like that, the concept I want to bring up is that even in the association of devotees, we have to keep taking opportunities to keep getting credits. And the beauty of this is, like this pious activities we're saying, serving others, the devotional service. These are practical ways. When we serve others in different ways and find opportunities to keep getting those credits, then we build up a credit balance. Right? Now debits will happen knowingly or unknowingly also. See, knowingly debit means, okay, you can say I need some help and you can take help. That's how life works. One is this, then you take some service and you give some service and balance. If you go on taking things and nobody is giving, it will become like a federal deficit. We'll keep spending more than we are earning. This is both at an individual level and at a collective level also. Right? So, at an individual level, at a collective level, is a temple as a community. If you're not doing public welfare activities, if you're not teaching them Krishna consciousness, if you're not teaching them Harinam and giving spiritual knowledge and prasadam and giving the spiritual this thing, we're only collecting, what do we take? Donations, you keep taking donations, but you're not doing things for them. You are not enjoying that. What will happen? Right? They'll stop giving you donations. Right? Individually also, this is collectively, and individually also we have to be careful and watchful about this. That's why whenever you get an opportunity, you do as much as you can, because you don't know when you'll be dependent and you'll take. So, the beauty of spiritual life is that there is actually more pleasure in giving than in taking. Once you understand that, the principle, then the giving doesn't become like, oh, I have to give something. No, it's like the giving is more pleasurable than actually taking. Right? So, this concept of, these credits and debits, and both in terms of activities that we do and in terms of relationships. What other forms of debits will happen in relationships? You give service, you take service, fine. But what other forms of credits and debits can be there in relationships among devotees? Yeah. Known or unknown offenses, those things are debits. Right? Sometimes, you think you're not doing anything, but the material world, especially Kali Yuga, is created in such a way, misunderstandings happen, this thing happens, that thing happens. And sometimes you'll do a mistake without even realizing, you might realize later, if you had known and you've been careful, you might have not done. I'm giving a benefit of doubt that you don't want to do. Still it will happen. So these are unknown debits that you cannot plan for. There are known debits you can plan for, unknown debits also will happen. So if you are not careful, you can become overdrawn. And when relations become overdrawn, bad things happen. Right? That is the nature of life itself. What other forms of credit? Simple. You don't have to nothing. Think about that. It is not even like you have to do some service, hard work, this thing. Just when genuinely somebody is doing something, just say, that's so nice you did that. Right? The person who gets the appreciation also is so happy. No? Today. And the person giving appreciation also, don't you feel happy? Because you feel happy because you're in the midst of good people who are doing good things. Appreciation is actually one of the easiest forms of creating credits, which is mutually beneficial. Now, if you start scratching each other's back, you are so wonderful when they are not wonderful, it doesn't help them, and people will start noticing, you want something, that's why or she wants something, that's why they're doing. See, this way, ultimately, genuine is the what, because we're all spiritualists. We have seen the outside world and we've seen all the artificial things people do. Yesterday was Microsoft's 50th anniversary. And so there was a big, company-wide talk and, this thing. And then there was one video about what impact we're having on the world. And they showed, this latest AI, they were talking about AI. Right? So Microsoft has developed some AI engine that consistently keeps on imaging Amazon forest and noticing, where there is deforestation going on, and alerting, authorities about that, and conservationists, so they can go and repopulate it, and authorities can take action on forest this thing, and they're tracking animal populations. They have put microphones in many parts of this thing, and constantly AI is listening to those microphones. It's identifying species based on listening to the microphones. And constantly they put cameras in different places and constantly taking pictures to understand biodiversity and all. Oh, great AI use. I was scratching my head, okay, fine. You're taking all this thing. Do you know what is the single most cause of deforestation in the Amazon? Single one. There is only one reason why deforestation happens in Amazon. Greed for what? For what? For not for construction. There is Brazil has so much land. Hardly 2% of the land is populated. Huge land. Everywhere is like that only. Huge land. There's no dearth of land anywhere. Only one reason the deforestation they do, to grow soya beans and this thing to feed cattle so that they can eat the cattle. You have to take 100 pounds of grain to produce 2 pounds of meat. If you eat the 100 pounds of grain, like, how much you don't even like you. I'm saying all this drama you're doing, instead of one day you stop eating meat, all your deforestation, this thing, all problem is gone one single day. In a week you do. I'm not telling you stop completely. One single day in a week you do. Do you need AI for that? Do you need all this complicated satellites, this, that? What are you doing? Devotees will go and tell, hey, please, one day you eat only this thing. All see, a big company doing this much money and trillions of dollars, and that solution, simple solution. Which has more impact? So that is why sometimes, we lose track of why Prabhupada is telling the things, the simple things we are doing. No, what you need for life is not complicated. Very, very, very simple. We have complicated our life. We have built all these things. Now they would give some reason now why you are spending trillions of dollars building these centers. So someone, this thing they have to show that this is why we are doing. This is the impact we are having on society and all. This is the nature of most of the material activities in this world. Almost all material activities are anartha. No value. Zero value activities. Big things you're producing, all these things, factories and this, and they want to manufacture here, but what are you manufacturing finally? You are manufacturing suffering and pain and this thing. Prabhupada used to say, you have increased your fever to 107 degrees fever you have made, and then you are all like, So, one has to understand some basic simple principles of life. What does it apply for us? We have to learn. If you do not control our senses, see that example I gave is a simple practice of austerity. Right? Is it, especially after practicing, is it some big austerity to stop eating meat? Right? Because I have gone through this transition. I used to eat meat like 5-6 times in a week to 0. Right? And like when I think about it, maybe when a person initially starts, maybe there is a little bit of some temptation, some this thing and this thing. After a few years, the smell of the meat itself, or this is like literally you'll feel like throwing up. So actually these are anarthas. We have unnecessarily created these desires and these things. There are many things in our life. What we think we need for happiness, this will make me happy, this is what will make me happy. It is all these unwanted anarthas that we have built in our life. Many ways. So by practicing simple austerity, one can control one's desires and connect them with Krishna. And the simple desires connected to Krishna. We are also happy. We are also eating every day. We are also this thing. But you're eating and you're eating Krishna Prasadam, and this thing is having the least impact on living entities around you. And it is nourishing both the body and the soul and making people happy. Versus the same eating, same this thing is causing so much suffering and so much of pain for the animals, for the planet, for the forests that are being destroyed, for the plant life, for the insect life. Everybody is suffering for your own small desire that you've created, that particular taste of a meat, a rotting flesh, cooked in a particular way. You're seeing that as tamasic thing, you're seeing as very happy and pleasurable. The next thing is, you must simultaneously worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By connecting everything with Krishna, by worshipping the Supreme Lord. Thus one becomes pious, and as a result one is happy even in material conditions of life. So this foundational principles we should understand. They are all very simple and easy to this thing, and if you practice them in your life, then you will see that this will give us, first it will connect us to Ananda as devotees. If we, in the spiritual world, but in the material world here, if you develop that faith that, oh, Krishna, is taking care of me. Right? So if you see this, even in this verse, Nanda Maharaj is actually very grateful. Oh, see, so Lord has protected us, protected this child. That's gratitude. It's not that, hey, I'm doing pious activities, so they should protect me. It's not a feeling of entitlement, but it's a feeling of gratitude. In life, if you're grateful for simple things, many times we take it for granted. Have gratitude for the association of devotees, for the deities, for the prasadam, for kirtan, for all everybody does together. And how the Lord protects us in different ways, sometimes gross, sometimes subtle, When you develop this gratitude, that gratitude itself is a source of pleasure. Right? That connectedness. I have taken to this devotional life and Krishna will take care of me. Okay? So that will give us that connection, that will give us the ananda. And when we serve the Lord in particular ways, you do a nice festival, you do something, or you like to do something, you do. Those are the rasas in this world here that create those enhanced pleasures over here in devotional life. So it's almost time. Anybody has any quick questions or comments? Otherwise we'll close. Yes. Yeah. So that description of pious activities, that will create good material happiness. Karma bandhana, why is that? Because you can get, you said, oh, I like this. So, for example, you are in a prison. You behave nicely. Then they'll put you in a nice cell. And they'll give you a nice this thing. You can also come, you can take care of the library in the prison. Is it better to go hit rocks or be in the library? Nice room. You can also read books. But if you say, oh, I'm happy reading books in the library here and being the librarian in the prison, is that a good thing for you? No, right? Because get out of the prison, then you can enjoy life outside. That is the karma bandhana aspect of it. Now, should you do or not? Yeah, but Prabhupada is telling us do even better. Give Bhagavad Gita to them and teach them this thing. Now, both of you will get out. And go to the spiritual world where you can enjoy both ananda and rasa in unlimited quantities. Grantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Jai Srila Prabhupada ki.